What's up, everybody? Welcome to another State of the Empire episode. Coach Rambo Ray talking to you guys. Was it 5 days after our last competitive tournament? We ended up getting third, fourth, I guess you can call it, lost in the semis for back-to-back weeks. Obviously not the finish we were looking for. We're obviously trying to win. We lost some close games again, and it's kind of how the last 2 weeks have gone for us. Just not really having that kind of like edge to really push us over the top when the games are on the line. And it's just, I mean, it happens. It's happened to us earlier this year. We went through a spree there where things were going pretty clean. We were winning a lot of games and we were winning those kind of end matches. But this weekend and last weekend just wasn't kind of the case for us. So really kind of like the first thing, actually, well, we'll finish with that. I just really want to start on outlining the kind of mentality that the guys have had throughout the last few days and really kind of where we feel like things are, like how we feel like we've come out of this like emotionally and like kind of looking forward as a team. Obviously, we didn't lose games by a lot. Like we lost, 3 out of the last 4 series we lost that are the last 2 weekends were best of fives that went to game 5, and most of them went pretty deep into game 5, round 11s against Florida in the first weekend and round 10 against FaZe this weekend, at least for the ones that kicked us out of the tournament. So it's kind of hard to look at it with like a brain of like, oh wow, we lost, we did terrible. Like we really, I mean, at this point in the year, things are going to be close, especially with the good teams. The difference between winning and losing is never there's never a big margin to this point. Like we've reached a point where most people kind of understand what they're supposed to be doing on most maps and really kind of play the game at a high level. So for that reason, you're going to see a lot of close games. Like even teams that you see that are like oh my God, like was it Toronto came close to beating a few good teams and so on and so forth the last couple of weeks. LAG last weekend came really close to beating a team and almost having a chance to win a tournament. It's just like at this point in the season, there's really something to be said about the how close the competition is going to get. So our goal from this point on is to really find ways to separate us from the field, from the pack, and find new ways to really create kind of a gap between us and the other teams. Because we want to win every possible chance we have to win until the end of the year, which are 2 events in whatever a month's time, and then whatever championship playoffs comes around after that. So the goal for us is really to find out and figure out what our kind of key mistakes are and trying to find a way to fix them in a way that's consistent with the way we're playing. There's a lot of things that go into that. I don't really want to go too in depth because I don't want to share secrets. But for the most part, I'd say like it's kind of fine tuning things that we know already and also trying to figure out new ones. Like there's always things that people haven't figured out truly yet or perfecting. Like perfecting the craft is the easiest way to put it. But there's also a lot of new things we can try. And I feel like especially with our Search and Destroy, we can explore ways to make ourselves more consistent. Because we go through a lot of games where we just look like absolutely like the best search team in the game. And then there's other games where we're making kind of a lot of small mistakes that other teams find ways to capitalize on. And then it puts us in bad situations. So it's just really kind of finding ways to put ourselves in positions where we have a chance to win every single map and with consistency, I guess the best way to put it. One thing I'd like to talk about, I didn't really talk about this weekend when it happened, but the whole London kind of the last round of the match, it was 5 for us and then we won the round, but I guess there was some server issues that caused lag. You couldn't really see that on the broadcast front, but I think it was Scraps posted a video of what exactly it looked like on his screen, which was absolutely terrible. And by any means, like just kind of like in the grander scheme of it, like it makes total sense the way it was ruled and the way we ended up having to replay a search round because of lag. The issue with what I have as a person who's involved in this is that the language of which is choose to kind of describe the issue was that, without going too in depth, was on kind of the server front. And then there's past issues that we've had to deal with where we didn't get replays or really kind of any benefit of the doubt beyond saying that we were the issue that weren't, I guess, server issues. But clearly, like, I mean, I don't know. It's to that extent, like, I just really want to point out that we were, like, even though we were kind of not happy about what happened, it made total sense. And the ruling kind of, like, with the league, like, granted, like, as annoying it is for us because we've been on the bad side of it a few times, it just sucked kind of for us to really kind of be on the bad side of it again where there was an actual replay this time. And that's the difficulties with online play, right? Nothing's ever going to be perfect. You're always going to have hitches and whatnot. The best thing that the league can do is try and make it as fair as possible, which I feel like in this case was the right decision to make it fair. But the frustrations I was dealing with was that in the past, and what the players obviously are frustrated with is that in the past we've had issues, not necessarily exactly similar to that in a search and destroy specific, but we've had kind of like games where it's just like there's no way we're going to win this with the kind of playing field we're playing on. And we've been vocal about it at the early stage of the game. One thing the league is doing is they're really not ending games until they're over. Like it's not like let's say that lag round was like in the earlier stages of the game, we would have basically played the game out, and then at the end of the game or post game, the league would have made a decision based on what they saw if they want to replay a specific round and so on and so forth. But yeah, there's like so much that goes into like again, from a competitive integrity standpoint, replaying the round made sense because one of the kills that we got was super impactful, looked absolutely ridiculous on one of the players' opponent's screen because of server lags. But at the same time, that kind of like the round based system, like the way the last round is determined was going to be broken by that. We were going to get offense no matter what because we started on a defensive round. The way the trophies and all the kind of like accumulative points for dead silence and whatnot. The specialists were going to be lost because you're starting from scratch. So there was kind of like some cons to replaying it as much as like it made sense, but it's really to the extent that if they're willing to do things to make things fair, like we felt like we were in those situations before. And that's really, again, I really wanted to kind of iterate on the frustrations we had, not necessarily based on that incident, but was more kind of accumulation of our frustrations that happened in the past. And now we were like, oh, well, the things like the league's bending for them, but didn't bend for us, I guess, for so to speak. Obviously, there's more to it than that. But again, I'm just kind of like advocating for the frustrations that were posted by some of the players on Twitter about how things were going on, so on and so forth. And so we have 2 more events to the end of the year. We have, again, competing back-to-back weekends. We have a month off. So the mindset of the players right now is that's at its best since we started, like since we started playing online, I'd say, honestly. And it sounds crazy to say, you're like, oh, wow, you guys haven't been trying, and like, sorry, allergies. But yeah, no, it's not to the point where like, obviously we've been trying, we wanted to win and whatnot, but we had like an 8-week period where we didn't compete. And it's, again, I think I've talked about this before, but it's hard to really kind of find that next level of kind of will to practice at the highest level on a daily basis, I guess, when you're not competing for a while. And especially like one of the harder things, again, in any sport, any capacity, and that's one thing I'm trying to do to my best to with the guys with, is to really like, it's almost harder to stay at the top than get to the top, if that makes sense. So we were basically at the top. So like it was to the point where the craft we were making and the changes we were trying to make to our game were to better that. And we weren't competing for a while, so there was changes in certain ways that people were playing the game and meta and whatnot that were changing, and we had no way to prove out if that was working or not until we saw some competitive stuff. And then by the time that happens, you're kind of competing a week or 2 after. So the best practice we've gotten were the last week prior to the first of the 2 events. And then really after we lost the first event, we didn't lose by much. So it's like, okay, well, it feels like our performances were not the greatest they could have been. So the change that we're trying to make was just to make sure that everyone was prepared to play at their best level for the second weekend. And then again, we lost close games to where just really, so now it's like really kind of our turn to make sense of what happened and really kind of figure out what we need to do to kind of grow to the next level for the coming weeks until the end stretch of the year. I mean, realistically, we have 3 more events to compete in, 2 of which are happening back-to-back weekends. I'm assuming whatever champs finals happen sometime soon after. So it's really the home stretch now, really where we're going to put our times and effort to really ensuring that we're peaking at the right time of the year. And I've spoken to this before. Peaking is huge in any sport, really, any competitive atmosphere you have in the world. No matter what you're doing, there's going to be bumps in the road and there's going to be highs and lows. It's really important for us to figure out how we get to the high at the end of the year. I mean, that's really, honestly, that's all that really matters. You want to win big one, and that's period. So the next 2 events for us are really trying to get the better seed possible at the tournament, or the biggest, the champs, or whatever you want to call it, and your event, and then we'll go from there, and hopefully we can come out on top of that one and be really happy with how the years went, and move forward onto the next title. So yeah, it's kind of our coming weeks again. the mentality at which we're playing in now is much greater. I'd say like today, for example, our practice is probably the best it's been. The players you can always tell with an emotional state. Like just okay, I'll end with this. I mean, I'm kind of not babbling, but I'm kind of like repeating myself a little bit. So to the point I was talking about, and this is something that amateurs and anyone out there who does things competitive can kind of maybe relate to, or even understand. I can help understand what's going on, and maybe you can change your ways so that you don't go through the mistakes that other people have gone, so on and so forth. But really, the basis of it is once you're competing at a good level. For example, we won 2 of the 3 events we played for a period of time there. We felt like we were doing a lot of things right, and so on and so forth. So our goal was really trying to maintain that. So when we scrim, we weren't necessarily trying to like we were trying to fine tune the small things we weren't doing right. But in general, we weren't looking at like the grander scheme of everything and making sure that like, are we really doing everything the best way possible? Like we weren't really looking to kind of push our game ahead to a new meta, because the meta at the time we felt like we were playing at its best. We won 2 out of 3 events. So it's like, what we're doing right now works really well. And until proven otherwise, we're not really going to look to try or go outside the box. So the mentality now is like, okay, well, clearly what we've been doing is still working a little bit, but there's ways where we can improve. So now the guys are really kind of the end point is that the guys are being very vocal about the things we're doing wrong. And even if it's something that's worked in the past, we're kind of looking at it as like a different perspective. Does this really work? Are we really like, is there a way we can get 50 seconds out of this hill instead of 40 seconds when we hold it this way, so on and so forth. And that's really kind of how the end of the year is going to go for us. And obviously our goal is to win. So hopefully we do that well. And I'm really excited, obviously, as a coach and past player. It's always the most exciting time of year when the big event comes up, and hopefully we can win. And I don't know if the coaches get a ring. I don't know if there's even rings anymore, but I didn't get my hands on a ring, so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to here. If we can get a kind of get the guys in the rhythm and get a big win for the end of the year, and who knows, maybe I get my hand on some jewelry that I've been really, really missing the last 2 times I played a champ. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this event, or this video. I'll be coming. If you guys have any questions, again, I say this every time, but like I'm very truthful about it. Like if you guys have any questions, tweet them at me, and I'll do a Q&A video next week, one of the players again, like we did last couple of times. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Peace. Oh, Scuff, Dallas Scuff Empire controller is sick. If you guys haven't seen it yet, go look it up. Get your hands on it. Literally looks dope. I mean, our logo, honestly, okay, this is a very big opinion, but I feel like our logo is probably one of the sickest logos in the league. So see on a controller, I'm super excited to get my hands on one of myself. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good one.